Hello, welcome to the 2020 Portland Film Festival presented by Comcast. This year's festival is jam-packed with films, workshops, panels, and more. To find out more information about the films you're going to hear about today, or to buy tickets, just go online to pdxff.com. My name is Joe Stevens. I'm the Director of Programming, and we'd like to welcome our 2020 filmmakers to the panel this morning. Good morning.
Good morning. How you doing?
Doing pretty good. Yourself?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, Joe.
Yeah. You want to introduce yourself, introduce your film?
Absolutely. My name is Devon Xavier King. The film I would like to introduce is The Last Black Man.
Give us a quick synopsis.
Yeah, it's basically about pretty much the trials and tribulations of Black men here in America from the beginning of time up until now. And my take on what would happen if it was down to one of us and the last of us, what would happen? Kind of seen it as a take on an auction, more or less like a commodity piece of art that's no longer being able to be purchased. And pretty much you have to stick around to see the end of the film to see how that turns out.
Yeah. Where did you come up with the idea for this film?
Man, Joe, I think life in general. I think life inspires us to do everything that we create. All parts of art comes from life in some aspect, in some way. I kind of wanted to show pretty much the positive and the negative sides of what we go through here, and kind of to just give people a little glimpse of how we view things in our eyes. Also to give a little history lesson on our past.
Yeah. I was a big fan of your movie, and I absolutely, this The Last Black Man up for auction is and going for so much.
Absolutely, because you could take it off in so many different ways. You know, some people could take it as a negative, as like, because at one time we were, auctioned off as a slave. So, to be auctioned as a piece of art, I think is like one of the highest pieces of I guess retribution and like, a way of that America can view us possible, because we have paintings going for millions and billions of dollars, and nothing else in this world can absolutely, can compete to that ever. No real estate, nothing, can ever, compare up to art. So, which, in a sense is itself a piece of art. So yeah, you can kind of flip it however way you want to, but yeah, that's how I wanted to pose it within this film.
Now, I don't know if you want to do it and spoil too much, but your ending was very powerful for me. You want to explain a little bit about how, without going into too much detail, how you wanted to figure out how you wanted to end it that way?
Yeah, I kind of seen it in a way as our culture being unobtainable and uncontrollable. Something that's just going to happen, and nature, will take its course one way or another. So, in a sense, you can buy that art, but you will never own that art. So, you know what I mean? That's kind of that's what I wanted to kind of put out there, and nature will take its course.
Yeah. That's Have you seen your message resonate with your audiences?
Yes, I have. Especially having, the team that I had, because my team was interracial, and everybody kind of really gravitated towards the message. Black, white, Asian, Hawaiian, everybody kind of they understood and got the message. And the funny thing about this was that it was a message that we kind of conveyed earlier this year, before everything happened. So it was kind of like a foretell of the future, and lo and behold, we're having all of these, marches and fighting for justice for Breonna Taylor and George Floyd, and it was just kind of one of those things where it was like, history repeats itself in a different format, and it's just how we, how we channel and take that energy and what we choose to do with it. So yeah, that message was something that was long told, I feel like, and it was just one of those things that kind of like added a little bit more fuel to the fire of getting people to start thinking, and in a better light.
Yeah. Was your was your most challenging aspect of putting this together?
Oh man, the most challenging I would say was probably our locations. We shot over a course of 3 days with a very minimal budget. Thanks to Jamal Truelove, our executive producer and also one of the artists who also played Kofi in the actual film, The Last Black Man. But he got us to get this specific location, which I wanted, which was Double Rock in San Francisco. And any Bay Area person knows that Double Rock was one of those places that was almost it was pretty much a impoverished project, you know, and they tore it down in order to make, in a couple of years, shopping malls and centers. So it was just so significant that we shot there because it was in itself a message to what we're going through here in America. And how our neighborhoods are being taken down and being replaced with shopping malls and other buildings of commodities. So I feel like that was the hardest thing to get, just because of the location itself and the timing and how fast we were moving. Again, we were shooting this in 3 days, so yeah, I think that location was probably the toughest thing. But once we locked that down, it was smooth sailing.
Yeah. Do you want to talk real fast about gentrification? I know we've been seeing a lot of that in Portland the last 20 years since I've been there. But yeah, where you're at, how's it been going?
Well, actually, I'm pretty far from it right now, just because I'm in California City, which is in the middle of nowhere. But I'm from Brooklyn and Queens, New York, so I've seen it firsthand. The places where I've grown up, Springfield Gardens, definitely isn't the place that it used to be. Not to say that it isn't for the better, but I feel like those changes could have happened way earlier. The simple changes that needed to take place could have happened while we were still there. And we didn't need to get forced out in order for those things to happen. I have a lot of family that had to move out of New York. It's been hard, it's been hard for a lot of people, but it's something that it's not new to us. If you know anything about Brooklyn, it's been gentrified maybe 2 or 3 times. Bed-Stuy, where Biggie grew up, used to be owned by, the wealthiest of the rich. And it is something that just kind of keeps happening. It's a cycle, and we just kind of have to figure out a way to break it. And I think that comes within ourselves, but also to have, more assistance from our government, more assistance from the people, more assistance from the communities around us. The same support that we show everybody else, we should be receiving the same thing.
Yeah. Excuse me. What was the most rewarding part of making the film?
Most rewarding part, man, I would say is getting it done. This was our first big budget video. And again, it was big for us, but I guess in the film world, it's pretty minuscule. But again, it was getting it done, having something finished, a finished product. At the same time, being able to work with my best friend and my producer, who really, tied everything together for us and, made my crazy vision come to life. So yeah, I would say getting it done in a timely manner, and we got it done around actually like the last week of Black History Month. So that was another kind of goal that we wanted to hit. Just the significance of what that month is to us, and more than just the film, but the community and the presence and the vibe that it brings with it.
So you guys got done just around the time COVID was picking up.
Oh yeah.
How did that impact your shooting or your production?
I don't think we really took mind to it, to be honest with you. Leading into it, it was, again, we started in January. So COVID, we kind of heard about it, but it really didn't hit us until March, but we were done by then. So at that point, it was kind of the marketing point that, we were like, all right, what do we do now? Do we, release this to the world since everybody's at home, or do we sit and wait to see what happens? Because we definitely knew that this was something that we wanted to bring to the film festival world, because we knew that, just one platform wouldn't do it justice. This is something that the world needs to see.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you chose to go this route. We were able to screen your film.
Absolutely.
Do you have any projects coming up?
Recent projects, man, we have a lot. We actually have a video called No Merindo coming up, and November we'll be shooting that video, and possibly a video with Jason Cash. I'm sorry, not Jason Cash, but Simba, called Black Jesus. This was something that we was working on before COVID. So hopefully Jamal Trulove could pull his strings together again and get us Black Jesus, because that's something that we definitely need to see. Treatment's already done. So yeah, that's the next one.
All right, man. Thank you for stopping by this morning.
All right. Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, you can find Last Black Man at pdxff.com.
Have a good one, Joe.
You too. Yeah, let's bring in our next director. Hey, good morning.
How's it going,
Matt?
Joe? Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Can you introduce yourself and your film real quickly?
Absolutely. My name is Matthew Bonifacio, and I'm the director of Master Maggie. Master Maggie is about a private celebrity acting coach played by Lorraine Bracco, who has an encounter with an unknown actor one day who is begging for her help for a TV audition.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Yours was definitely a wild ride.
Good. That's a good thing then.
I know I'm not gonna say too much. I just want to say how no, I don't want to ask real fast how you got these performances. I mean, they were massive. That was just a lot of energy. How long is that shoot? I mean, had to be draining, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty intense working with, many different actors with those backgrounds. We had Lorraine Bracco and the late Brian Dennehy, Kenan Thompson, and then the co-lead, Neil Jane, who would be, playing the unknown actor, and Chris Henry Coffey. So everyone had different processes and different styles. I come from an acting background, and I'm also a real life private acting coach, as well as a professor for acting. So it was definitely in my wheelhouse, to cater to their performances and different styles. It took 5 days of filming, and this was a longer short film than I've done in the past. It was, close to 22 minutes, but we got it done in 5 days.
Nice. Well, it's not that bad. I mean, 22. You talk real fast about oh wow. Sorry about this. About where the idea came from to make the piece.
Yeah, so I mean, I've done very personal stories with my past projects about food addiction and drug addiction, and stories about people on the spectrum and LGBTQ stories. But this was just like I wanted to do something that hopefully could entertain. And I didn't really have any kind of message behind it. But I was, and I am a real life private acting coach. So I thought that would be interesting to see like this one-on-one human connection. So I pitched it to my wife, Juliana, who is a co-writer on this. And she's like, yeah, but that's not enough. Audiences may get bored of that. And I was like, wow, what do you mean? This is my life. And she's like, and she came up with the spoiler that we're not going to reveal. She came up with she's like, but what if it's about blah, blah, blah? And I'm like, great. And then we went off to the races with that concept.
Yeah. I want to ask, because you brought him up, pulling Kenan Thompson to this. I mean, that was just that was the wildest thing I'd seen. I mean, why did you think pulling a comedic actor for this really serious piece would be the way to go there?
Well, one, we were always fans of his work,
Mm-hmm.
and we didn't have any connections to any of these actors that we went after. A lot of people ask, like, how'd you get this kind of cast? And we were like, well, we reached out to their agents or managers, empowered the assistants. Got the assistants to read the script, and then if they liked it, they passed it along to the agents or managers, and then if they liked it, they passed it along to the talent. Specifically for Kenan, he did respond to the scene, and he asked for a phone call with me, and we had a really nice conversation. And he was a big fan of the movie Rain Man, which was the reboot his character was going for in the short. And he just thought it was a fun project and didn't play any games. And he said yes by the end of the phone call. He was a real pleasure to work with, very easygoing. And, he's been on sets, for many, many years, and just like a true professional and just like willing to try anything. And of course, he's a creative genius as well. So
he definitely added a nice layer in there. That just having a comedic element, this guy trying to step outside of himself to do something, and
Exactly. And a lot of actors may not have wanted to show their true self, but I just like seeing that other side of Kenan that we haven't really seen, just being himself and just like pursuing a drama opportunity here, in the story.
Yeah. Have you seen your film resonate with audiences you've screened for, if you have?
Yeah, I mean, we've been fortunate to play at a lot of film festivals across the country, and it's always interesting. Sometimes the audiences are really quiet, and then you start to think like, oh, they're not into it, because we think there's a lot of humor in the film, and then there's sometimes audiences that are really vocal and are laughing a lot and finding things humorous. But the Q&As, the same things come up. The same questions and the same comments come up. So we know that they were, hopefully engaged by it, whatever kind of, experience they had internally or vocally.
Yeah. So as an acting coach yourself, how much fun was it to write this coach and this I don't want to call him an unorthodox student, but just how much fun was that to write?
Yeah, I mean, the stories that I have in real life, if we ever turn this into a TV show or a TV series, there could be fun characters coming in and out. But yeah, obviously the private coach aspect, Lorraine's character is a very heightened version, but also like inspired, for those who've studied acting, like, Stella Adler, but like more, she's a contemporary Stella Adler. But there are things that I teach about, like not blinking so much on camera and things like that. So we got that in the film. And then, you'd be surprised about actors, unknown actors pursuing this field and their personalities and or their reasons that you meet. And again, I'm dancing around spoilers right now, but it was a lot of fun to bring it to life. And that was like really rewarding for me, just to see actors wanting to play these roles.
Yeah. So I want to talk real quickly about motivations. I'm not sure, actually sure I was going. I had an idea for a second, but your characters were some of my favorite I've seen. I mean, she was very reluctant at first, but then she dove all the way in, and he was almost desperate. Where did the how long did it take that to get across? How much was your direction? How much was the actors themselves like bringing? How much were the actors bringing to the film themselves?
Yeah, I mean, in real life, Lorraine Bracco, she did study with Stella Adler back in the day. So, it was on the written page, but also she had a very strong connection to who her character was. And, someone that in the beginning was like, I don't take on, unknown clients. You need an acting coach for a Law and Order audition? Well, good luck. There's 100 acting coaches in New York City. But then she, not giving out spoilers, but she kind of wants to stay at work and she doesn't want to go home. And she winds up, let me just help him out and work with him. So that was kind of her motivation to not go home that day, because she's dealing with some life issues with her mom, her aging mother. And then for the other actor, he was able to really work off what Lorraine was bringing him, but also the spoiler, that we're not revealing now. It's life and death for him.
Yeah.
So he was able really go there and be in the moment and connect to the circumstance. And it's a collaborative atmosphere in my sets. So I'm open to ideas and things that actors want to try. Being a former actor, you can't restrict them. And then also, I'm also trying to manipulate the actors to try and to get what I want as well. But it's certainly not about me. The project is bigger than all of us. And I feel like organically, we all got there together. And, when an actor's in a pocket, they're in the pocket, they're in the zone. And if they're off, you adjust, you try things, and you spin it a different way and try to get them out of their head. But they were pretty locked in for those scenes and did deliver, which if they don't, it's going to really derail the whole movie because it's really riding on the spoiler that we're not talking about. So that was a lot of pressure, directing and also performance-wise for these actors too.
Yeah. That's talk about how that was trying to get your acting. How did you have any challenges in those 5 days of shooting that were any challenges?
I mean, I would say day one, which that day we had all the actors there at some point. So that's always nerve-wracking. You're working for the first time with these great actors that you're fans of their work. So logistically, you want to make sure that you're not running behind, setting up lights. And long story short, the theater that we were actually filming in, we thought they would leave the existing theater lights. They would be hanging above, and we were going to utilize that lighting as well. But they removed all the lights, about 50 lights that were hanging that we were going to tap into as well. And we had to put them back up. So that really set us back, a lot of time. So the actors are there, coming at their call times and they were waiting around a bit, which is normal. And these things happen. But eventually when we started to shoot, we got on a nice roll. And then it's just navigating, the blocking and the lighting and the performances. And there was a lot of moving pieces. But I really believe after day one, it did get easier and we did get into flow. Even though the scenes that were hard, they were much harder to follow. We just got in that pocket and were able to coast.
Nice. What was your most rewarding moment making the film?
I guess nailing down and no spoilers here. I've said it 1,000 times. The courtroom scene. To try to get a courtroom, in New York City, they were just like treating us like we were like a studio movie with the fees that they were trying to charge, and like you really need that scene to pull the short off. And then Juliana, she suggested, well, why don't we see if there's any courtrooms in New Jersey. It could be something out of the tunnel, something in Hoboken. And we found a courthouse that they actually shot on the waterfront back in the day with Marlon Brando. And they haven't allowed any movies to film there. We really convinced them that we wanted to film there, gave them the script. The judge had to read the script. And he actually loved, the script. And he's like, yeah, you could film here. I'm going to allow you guys to film here, but we don't want any mention of the courthouse name or anything because we don't want to endorse and give ideas to people up on trial. So we were like, absolutely. And they gave us a really wonderful rate for the day, which was ridiculously affordable. And we would take it because we're independent filmmakers.
Yeah.
And, so that was really challenging finding one. And then when we found one, it was a perfect home.
That sounds amazing. I mean, yeah. Do you have any projects coming up you'd like to talk about?
Yeah. So we did a short documentary that we were commissioned by Dick's Sporting Goods in Tribeca a few years ago. And it premiered on ESPN about a Paralympian. And just being in that world, of persons with disabilities, we felt like that was an area that's not really represented in narrative films. And so we optioned the true story rights to 2 of the subjects and wrote a narrative script that's currently in development and really want to bring representation and cast actors with disabilities for those roles as well. And we're really excited about the project. And, COVID delayed us a bit. We've been raising money since, March, and we had some nice momentum around then, but we're starting to pick up momentum again. And hopefully this becomes fully realized in the future.
Well, it sounds like an amazing project, and I look forward to watching it.
Absolutely. We'll send it your way when it's done.
Then Matthew, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having us and having Master Maggie. Been a big fan of your festival for years, and it's a great honor to be included in this edition.
Oh, we're so grateful to have you. Can you tell us what block you're playing in?
I'm sorry?
Can you tell us what block you're playing in?
Oh my God, I don't know specifically the name of the block.
Yeah, okay, yes, there we go. You can find Master Maggie in the Is This Now shorts block. I believe
Yes.
This is one of our thriller blocks. So it's,
Great.
On pxff.com. Okay, I believe we have one more director joining us for this section. All right, good morning.
Hi, how are you?
Doing well, yourself?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Could you introduce yourself and your film?
Sure. My name is Allison Becker, and I am the director of Ass Level. Ass Level is that's right, I did say Ass Level, everybody. It is a comedic music video that celebrates living life with a disability.
Yeah. I see that you are a co-writer on this. How much fun was this to put together? I mean, where do the ideas come from?
So fun. The original idea came from the star and the main writer, Santina Muha, who's a good friend of mine, and she has actually been in a wheelchair since she was 6 years old. And she's a hilarious comedian, and she wrote this song, a hip hop song called Ass Level. And it basically goes through all of the perks about living life with a disability. For example, you get VIP parking, sexy men will carry you upstairs, you get to cut the line in the club, they bring you in through the back. Like basically you're treated like a celebrity. And Santina's viewpoint is kind of that a lot of disability, and I know Matthew had just touched on this, representation of disabled individuals on screen. A lot of it is, it falls into one of two categories. It's either very tragic, or it's very intentionally inspirational. And Santina wanted to try and touch on this new view of disability and show it as something that is, people with disabilities, there are some actual good things about having a disability, and they live awesome, fun, cool lives, just like the rest of us. So she kind of wanted to put a new lens on it. And she pitched me the idea. And I was like, I want this to be my directorial debut. This was the first thing I've directed. And we had so much fun coming up with the ideas for the scenes in the video.
Yeah, let's definitely get topic we've touched on a few times this week, how disability is just a part of life, and how it shouldn't necessarily be just, for tragedy or for, inspiration. How it's something that is, and we can film it without it having to be one of these things.
Exactly.
How important is that for as a filmmaker? How important is it to show that aspect of life?
Well, it's interesting because doing these film festivals now, this whole circuit, and obviously a lot of them are online now, but doing these chats now, and Santina's been in a few of them with me. It's interesting to hear the other filmmakers after we have this conversation where they're like, oh, I realized I have cast this or this one as someone with a disability. Just because it's not written into the script, that this, the girlfriend or the doctor or somebody doesn't have a disability, just because it's not written to the script doesn't mean that you can't cast a performer with a disability. So I encourage all filmmakers to go through their scripts and say, hey, how diverse can we make this cast? And by diverse, I not only mean race and gender, I also mean differently abled people.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you have any especially, anything was especially challenging about filming this?
Um, Yeah, there's one big dance scene that we have where it's just everyone in the video is dancing, and it was a lot. Just timing out. We had like one actress who had to run to another shoot and then come back. So just timing everyone because it was, it's independent filmmaking, so it's calling in a lot of favors. People were either working for no cost or very far below their rate. So it was just calling in a lot of favors, and that there's always that stress that I had as the director that's like, I'm sorry, we're almost done. We're almost done. I promise you can go home soon. But just general, independent filmmaking timing and trying to work out everybody's schedule.
Yeah. What was your most rewarding part of making this?
The most rewarding, I mean, like I said, this was my directorial debut. So just working as a director in general was very rewarding for me. And I remember specifically there was one moment where there's a moment where we have Santina roll through what we like to call a hallway of asses. Because in case you didn't get for those of you who haven't seen the music video, because she's in a wheelchair, she's always at the best level, which is ass level. So we had this big vision to have Santina roll down in a big throne, a hallway of asses with a bunch of people bent over. And we had a very specific vision in our head. And I had a very specific idea of what I wanted this to look like. I wanted her to be in like a Julia Roberts from Pretty Woman, like off the shoulder red dress with the gloves on. And I wanted her to look very elegant. And I remember speaking with my hair and makeup team who were incredible and the art department who were incredible and telling them what I wanted, and then seeing the moment when it came up in the monitor and I was just like, oh, that's the thing that was in my head. And then I told it to all of you and you made it happen, which everybody, that's directing. That's what directing is. But to see it come to fruition in that moment, I was like, oh, this is such a cool feeling of working with a team and everybody working towards this one vision. And then when you see it on the monitor, I was like, oh, this is why people like directing. This is very cool.
Yeah. Now, going back to that Hall of Asses, I'm reminded your props were also incredible. I mean, I've never seen a wheelchair with spinning rims. That was a definite first.
Yeah, that was Colors Wheelchairs. They're an incredible company that makes wheelchairs. They make spinners. They make rims for wheelchairs. And they were nice enough to lend us one of their very fancy wheelchairs. But yeah, you can get them really fancy there.
I got to ask, how much fun was this to put together? I mean, this seems like it'd be so lively, just energetic.
It was, Joe. It was so fun. We had such a diverse cast as far as gender, race, age, ability, and everyone just came together, and it was so fun, especially because there's big fun dance scenes and big fun costumes. So we just had a riot. We had a great time. And like I said, I called in a lot of favors to friends. There's one scene where a limo pulls into the club, and we of course couldn't afford to rent a limo, but luckily my dear friend Chachi owns a limo. So I was like, can we borrow your limo for the day, please, buddy? So yeah, it was just a lot of calling in favors.
Oh, that's great. Do you have any projects coming up you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, I'm actually, I'm a director, I'm an actor, but I'm also a writer first and foremost. And I just sold, my writing partner and I just sold a script to Amazon Studios. So we're working on that and hopefully it'll start filming next year.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. You can find Ass Level on, I think, Musical, God, what is the name of that blog? I want to say it's Musical Chronicle.
That sounds right.
At pdxff.com. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Joe.
I believe we have time for a quick panel, so if we can bring in all of our directors, you might have a few questions to ask, and feel free to ask questions on YouTube or at Facebook. Yeah. Hey, welcome back.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
So real quickly, reintroduce yourselves and your films, please.
I guess I'll start. I'm Xavier King, Last Black Man.
Allison Becker, Ass Level.
Hi, I'm Matthew Bonifacio from Master Mag.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for coming back here. We always like to ask about happy accidents, something that wasn't intentional, something you didn't mean to happen, but you had to include it because it just felt so right. Did you have any of those moments with this film?
We had a nice happy accident. We did crowdfunding, and one of our incentives was if you donated a certain amount, you got to be featured in our film. And we had this incredible patron who's actually a mayor in Texas donate a hefty amount of money, and he was featured in our short as FDR, who lived the later years of his life in a wheelchair. And it was great because we were having a hard time casting FDR, and then this lovely patron kind of looked like FDR, so it worked out great.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, so on that, flexibility is a very important part of the direction. How flexible did you have to be putting this together? I know Matthew was talking about lighting had to go up again on day one. The setbacks happen. So how flexible do you have to be? How important do you think it is?
Contortionist level. That's I feel like is always the best answer. If you're a rigid director, a rigid, actor, a rigid anything, you'll only get as far as, the limit that you set on yourself. And I feel like the same thing goes for those circumstances. You're always, as a filmmaker, looking forward towards, what's going to be my big mess up, and what's going to, what hurdle am I going to have to jump over? It's because we always look forward to those, those things about to happen, and being flexible and being able to conquer those little mishaps or those hurdles, I feel like is like just a part of being human being and just being a filmmaker in general.
Yeah, I think it's important that you need to handle change, and things change, very quickly on a set, as you all know, and being flexible and being open-minded. And, if your character has a cat in the scene and we couldn't get that cat in the scene, then we got to make do with the plant. We got to make it work, and, you just got to roll with the punches and still be true to yourself and true to the production.
Yeah, you do as much prep as you possibly can, but know that a lot of it's going to go out the window once you get to set.
I'm just stuck on the idea of somebody petting their plant instead of a cat. Yeah.
It might be a real funny moment.
Yeah.
Mine just entered the room as soon as you said that.
Oh, your plant, you mean, right?
My plant just walked into the room as soon as you said that.
Real quick, how do you, in one word, want to describe how people should walk away feeling?
That's a good question.
I would say open-minded for mine.
Put a hyphen there again. Yeah, it's definitely.
Is that 2 words? Is that a word and a half?
Man,
Yeah, take your time.
yeah, I would say, man, come back around to me, Matthew, please.
I'm going to be honest, like the first 2 words that came to mind was satisfied, and then the other one was hungry. So they both contradict each other, but for me, it's more about the experience that just happened. So we could beat ourselves, for hours, and second guess, choices that we made as an actor, as a director, as a writer, as production. But I think if you feel satisfied that you gave everything and you put it all out there, whether it's going to translate or not, we'll see how that goes down in editing. and then still hungry to continue because that's probably not your last day. And then let's make the next day better than the first day, and keep that on.
Yeah.
I think I'll go with awareness. I think awareness is one of the better words I feel like I can choose for what I would like people to walk away with after watching this film.
Awareness is definitely a good answer. I believe we have some clips ready to go of your films. So let's get those up. Maybe. Okay. So do you want to give us a little insight into that clip?
Yeah, so for that clip, I kind of just wanted to give a quick montage of pretty much start to finish what I believe invokes The Last Black Man. As you can see, there's a lot of images, a lot of faces, well, the same face, but in a lot of forms, just to show that we have multiple sides, different sides, and, you know, looks could be deceiving, as well as, you know, I guess just like the multiple faces that we can have as, you know, as human beings, and showing that we're all, you know, in some way or another the same. But at the same time, we have our differences, but, you know, we should still respect that and honor and cherish that from one another.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like we have another one ready to go here.
Okay, so now you're going to feel sorry for yourself? Oh, boy, you. You want to be an actor? It's commitment. It's sincerity. You've got to be connected emotionally, creatively, physically. It requires everything that you've got.
Yeah. Now, a little more insight here, and I just want to first of all say I love that intensity. It's just I will always just bring you right back in.
Thank you. I'm not sure if I answered your previous question about the walkaway part. I thought you meant on set, but if you mean like audiences, what I want them to walk away with after they see the film, it would be more like things aren't always what they seem.
Yeah. I think hungry was still a good answer. I was definitely
okay. Maybe it could be applied, but I mean that would be a good thing because it's a short, right? But it's a longer short.
And hungry still works. I mean, there's always that you want to see more too. So I mean, yeah. I think we have one last clip.
Hi, my name is Allison Becker and I am the director of the music video Ass Level. Ass Level is about celebrating people who live differently abled lives. It stars the hilarious comedian Santina Muha, who's actually been in a wheelchair since she was 6 years old. And as Santina says, when you're in a wheelchair, you're always at the best level, ass level. So we hope Ass Level makes you laugh, but most importantly, we hope it makes you think, specifically about how people with disabilities are represented in the media. Thank you so much for including us in the Portland Film Festival. We are so honored.
Sure, we would have loved the trailer, but we had.
It was funny.
There are.
You'll have to check out the actual video.
You'll have to actually watch it. Yeah, go watch it online. Yeah, I think I'm about out of questions here, honestly. If you guys have any questions yourselves you want to ask around, I mean.
Well, I just want to thank everyone for having me, and I can't wait to check out y'all's films. They look incredible.
Same here. Would love to see your
Likewise.
films. Yeah.
Likewise.
I want to thank you all for joining me this morning. We're so glad to have you with us this year, and thank you so much for all the work you put into your films. They are all amazing.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, you can buy tickets to see all their
Thank
films
you.
at cxff.com.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, we're going to take a short break, play some clips for you, and we'll be back with our second round of directors.
Hi, I'm Seattle filmmaker Wade Chitwood. I'm the writer, director, producer of the film The Prospector. My film is about a mysterious asteroid prospector who is searching the universe for his fortune. The prospector's journey takes him to a place where he has to look directly at his soul and decide what he's willing to sacrifice to achieve his ambitions. Portland rock band, the Shivas, they supply the soundtrack. Their music guides the viewer through the prospector's journey with a kind of foreboding 60s surf rock narration. I hope you enjoy the film. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Jackie Party Scripps, and I directed the music video for K. Astra Softly Tread. So what really struck me about this song when I initially listened to it was it's got this really like dreamy 70s quality to it. But I thought it would be interesting to juxtapose that kind of light poppy sound with more dark images. When we see K. Astra painting the dresses and painting the photos and painting herself, it's her way of externalizing her inner feelings on her outer environment. And it's very abstract and it's very visceral. It can make people feel a lot of different emotions. You can project almost anything onto those images. I'm here in Austin, Texas. I'm a San Antonio native. I love cold brew, great cinematography, and public radio.
Hi, I'm Christiana Wu, and I'm from Seattle, Washington. I'm the writer, director, and producer for the short film Alvin. Alvin is about a man who receives free healthcare at the expense of his freedom. The story stems from the significant life experiences I've had in the past. I wanted to convey internal struggles, external circumstances, and the downward spiral that manifests as a result. You can watch Alvin today in one of the Sci-Fi blocks. And of course, I'd love to hear from you. For more information, please check out alvinthemovie.com. Enjoy the show.
Hello, my name is Sara Alessandrini. I'm an Italian director based in Los Angeles. I'm the director of the music video Black Dust, screening here at Portland Film Festival. Black Dust is the music video I created for the artist Jameson Tabor, born and raised in Portland. When Jameson wrote this song, he was inspired by his personal experience witnessing the conflicts arising between his divorcing parents. When he shared his story with me, I couldn't avoid thinking that this lack of communication and anger that always emerge when people divorce is the same type that is diseasing our society. People fight against each other, don't listen, and don't respect each other's diversity. That's what we want to show with this music video. We want to show that when people pause and start listening to each other, they find out that they're more similar than they thought. Thank you for watching.
My name is Katie Cronin. I'm a writer-director based out of Portland, Oregon. My short film Costumes is based on my real-life fear of wearing costumes, and we made it with a small but mighty team based here in the Pacific Northwest. I hope you enjoy my film, and I'd like to thank the Portland Film Festival for screening Costumes and all the wonderful films here at the festival. You are going to drive very slowly to Jess's house. You are going to walk efficiently to the door. Enter the party, shot, shotgun, boom, confidence. You just have to set yourself up for success.
about a woman who reads the news in a newspaper and experiences the terrible truths of our time. It's also about my relationship with the news and how I still try to find hope even if all these terrible things are happening.
Hey, I'm Doug Rowland, writer-director of Feeling Through, coming to you from Los Angeles, California. Feeling Through is the first film ever to star a deaf-blind actor. I made it in partnership with the Helen Keller National Center, and we are thrilled to be a part of the Portland Film Festival. In addition to the film Feeling Through, we also take it around the country as part of the Feeling Through Experience, a fully accessible 3-part screening event that also includes a supporting documentary following the process of casting and working with our deafblind actor Robert Tarango, as well as a panel discussion and Q&A with the deafblind community. If you want to find out more about that, go to feelingthrough.com and sign up for our mailing list. We'll let you know about the next opportunity to catch that whole experience as well. But in the meantime, check it out at the Portland Film Festival. We'll see you there.
Hey, I'm Rooftop, and I'm a fashion designer, filmmaker, and creative director of the Brand Advisory. I'm currently in New York City, and my film is Time Ain't Enough.
Time ain't enough, world in my hands. Devil on my shoulder, he enticing me to dance. Devil on my shoulder, fallen angel, why he stand by so much pain in the mirror. Watch by every other chance.
Time is a music video by Glenn the Saiyan that explores Glenn's past as a kid, struggling in school, and how that may affect his relationship with his parents. Despite Glenn's parents wanting him to succeed in school, Glenn understands that his heart really lies in the arts. This concept was very personal to me. As I was writing this treatment, I was contemplating dropping out of school because I knew that the only reason why I was there in the first place was to appease my parents. I ended up staying in school, long story short, and I don't necessarily recommend dropping out to anyone, but did make for a good concept for this video, so shout out to that. Here's Time Ain't Enough. Enjoy.
Hi, my name is Hunter Arthur. I'm the director of A, and I'd like to say thank you so much for watching my film. I'm located right now in Scottsdale, Arizona during this pandemic. It's where I'm from. I graduated from Arizona State University. And A is about a story about a kid who gets an eye disease and he's finding his little purpose in life. And that is what our short film is about. I hope you enjoy it, and thank you so much.
Good morning. Welcome back. Let's bring in our first director.
Hello, everybody. Hi,
Sure.
Joe.
Good afternoon, good evening, actually.
Good evening. We're at the same time. I'm in Los Angeles.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Could you mind telling us a little about yourself and your movie?
Sure. So, well, my name is Sara Alessandrini. I'm an Italian director, and I made this music video, Black Dust. So I live in Los Angeles now, but I'm Italian. I'm very Italian. So I made this music video called Black Dust with the artist Jameson Tabor. And I've been collaborating with Jameson for like many years now. I think like since kind of like the first months I came here, like the first few months I came to Los Angeles, I met this guy and we started doing music video together. And Black Dust is the one we filmed last year. And we actually filmed it outside of Portland. We were like Forest Grove. Yeah, because he's from Portland. So he decided to fly me over there. So that was my first time actually. I saw Portland. I saw a little of Oregon. So it was very nice. So that's where we filmed it. It was like we filmed it like in a very rush day because I was working until like Friday afternoon in Los Angeles. And then he flew me to Oregon in the evening. And we met like at 11 p.m. talking about the music video, and like at 5 a.m. we were already awake, like filming that. So it was just like one day filming.
Wow, that's one day. That's a lot of travel time for one day shooting.
Yeah, and I never saw the location before, so actually it was like I just saw in Google Maps. So Google Maps, I have a kind of idea. So, but I love improvising things, so like I was cool with that. So, but yeah.
Yeah. So would you say, aside from travel and having one day to get it done, what was your most difficult element of shooting?
The most what? Sorry.
Difficult element?
Well, I guess like we were in the middle of nowhere. We had to rent, obviously, like a porta potty, so because there was nothing around us, no water, no nothing. Yeah, definitely like not having seen the location beforehand was like the most challenging thing, because like we had an idea for the first location, but then we were looking for other two type of location, and we didn't know where. We didn't have any permit, obviously. We were just like we were in a piece of land that belonged to like Jameson's family, but then we were actually like going another location, and so like on the spot we were like looking for the next location, not knowing if we would actually find something cool, if we just should stop just like in the location we were right now. So we finally found something pretty cool. There was like an old like railroad in the middle of nowhere, but yeah, it was challenging with all the equipment, walking there like 30 minutes, not without being sure that actually we would find something. So yeah, that was challenging.
What was your favorite part of doing all of that? The hiking 30 minutes with all your equipment? Or,
actually seeing Oregon for the first time, like traveling, like being paid to travel, like it's not being paid, but like just like someone paying for my flight, obviously. That was the coolest part. So like just seeing a new place, and I love beer, so like I know like Portland and Oregon is the place to go. So definitely that was the best part.
Now, did you happen to see anything else while you're out here? Any locations you might want to use in a future project?
Something about the location? What did you say? Sorry, the sound is kind of like weird every now and then.
Sorry, I'm not sure what that was my audio. Did you see anything else while you were out here? Anything you might want to use in a future project?
We were like there, like because I came there like Friday night, and like on Sunday afternoon, I had to go back to Los Angeles. So I really just saw very little of Portland. So, but definitely like I like a lot. It's more like Boston and those type of European type of like cities. So definitely I like it a lot, and I would love to go back.
How did your film come to be? Like how'd you come with the idea?
Jameson wrote this song actually thinking about his parents, because they divorced when he was like around like 16, 18 years old. So he was kind of in the middle of the fight between his two parents. And like he put like all his emotion, like how he was feeling and what he was experiencing, because like he was still like a young adult guy, and like seeing these two people fighting, people that previously loved each other, fighting against stuff like even small things. So he just wrote this song about this emotion. And when like we started thinking about the music video, we just like thought like in a bigger way, because like my parents never divorced, like they're still together. So I don't know specifically that, but I can see the same experience when you see like people fighting. We see that in our society all the time. Like I'm an immigrant, so there are challenges they face when you go to a new country. You can see here what's happening now with Black Lives Matter, obviously. So there is so much like hate between people, and very often it's really not based on like what you know, it's based on what you don't know about someone. So the same thing that we were saying like so often in society. So it was kind of a very similar situation. So we just start thinking about two tribes fighting against each other, not knowing exactly why they're fighting, but they just hate each other and they just want to destroy each other. And then when they start getting closer together, and like and you see the music videos like black and white for the most part, so you really like don't see like it kind of like the black dust. It kind of look like you're in war, so it's black like an explosion. But if you start revealing the colors, you just see actually it's not something bad, it's something beautiful, the colors that can bring you together. So yeah, that was the idea, like what we were thinking about. Like if you start like looking at each other and like start listening, you see that you have like more similarities than differences between other people. So, and the same was like society, culture, countries, race, and everything. And the same like for divorcing parents. So that was the idea.
Yeah, I have to say I love the transition almost halfway through from black and white to color, and then that was just, it really pops, and I was a big fan of that. It was beautiful.
Thank you.
I believe we have a clip of your music video ready to go.
I didn't share a video, so I don't know if you're sharing just like my introduction video.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll see what we have.
Yeah. Hello, my name is Sara Alessandrini. I'm an Italian director based in Los Angeles. I'm the director of the music video Black Dust, screening here at Portland Film Festival. Black Dust is the music video I created for the artist Jameson Tabor, born and raised in Portland. When Jameson wrote this song, he was inspired by his personal experience witnessing the conflicts arising between his divorcing parents. When he shared his story with me, I couldn't avoid thinking that this lack of communication and anger that always emerge when people divorce is the same type that is diseasing our society. People fight against each other, don't listen, and don't respect each other's diversity. That's what we want to show with this music video. We want to show that when people pause and start listening to each other, they find out that they are more similar than they thought. Thank you for watching. Yeah, kind of the same thing that I just said.
Yeah. I did like that point you made, how a lot of fighting is often rooted in ignorance more than anything else. Yeah. You want to talk a little about that?
About ignorance?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, like also like as an immigrant person, so I get to see like some different society. Like I see how things are in Italy and in Europe, and as a European and Italian, we always tend to compare ourselves to a lot of other countries all the time. So like, and like come here, America is a little the opposite. So I tend to see less of what's happening in the rest of the world. So sometimes when you come here and like you find yourself in a situation that like it's kind of like you're just like thinking like, why is this happening? This makes no sense. So especially like when you start going to other countries and you meet culture from so many different places. Like I have friends here that like mostly from Asia, South America, and you just start learning about their own countries and their own diversity, and you just like see like I like my friends that from Asia, like we think in the same way, we talk about the same thing, we have the same kind of experience, because like it's the human experience that it matters. So, and that's the thing, like if you just like start listening to other people, you can really see like how we're so similar, how we're struggling for the same thing, and diversity is a beautiful thing. Like we're still different, but similar in the same way. So I think that's a beautiful thing when you travel and see other countries. It really like open your eyes, like and that you know that there is no point to fight with people if you start like just like exploring and experiencing things. So,
what was your favorite part of making?
Of making this music video?
Yeah.
Well, I just like love making music videos. So I love I'm a type of director. I like being like in each part of the music, or like taking part for everything. Like, so like the pre-production, I love it. I love editing. I was not really being part of the editing part here, I guess, but I love doing editing too. But yeah, so I kind of enjoy everything of the process. It's just love it. Yeah.
Do you have any projects coming up you'd like to talk about?
We actually just filmed an acoustic version of this music video. So the same artist, Jameson, they just like rewrote a little the song. He changed like some verse with another artist called Taylor. And so they did the duo, and they were like we just filmed that like in a hiking area, like in Calabasas, so around here. So we did that music video, and I'm working with another band, Little Galaxies. And so we just filmed another music video, which is going to be super cool with like different location, like in a cave. We filmed like in a metal container. It was during the hottest day of the year this year, in a metal container for 4 hours. We could not breathe inside, and with the mask, it was crazy. Like it was the worst experience in my life, but it's gonna be super cool because like the light was amazing, and then all the other locations amazing. So I'm looking forward to finish the editing of that one. But we're already preparing a new one, so I'm being pretty busy, especially with my work. I work all week. Actually, it's a movie theater. It's not open, but there is so much to do anyway. Yeah. But yeah, that's what's happening.
Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning. You can find Black Dust at pdxff.com.
Thank you very much.
let's bring our next director out. All right, good afternoon. Nope, you're muted.
Sorry about that.
No worries. Good afternoon. Would you mind introducing yourself and your film?
Hi, my name's Aubrey Mintz. I'm the director of the short animated film Nothing to Say.
And could you give us a quick synopsis?
Yeah, it's a short animated film, goes through 3 different styles of animation. It's narrated by Danny Aiello, and it's about zoo and the animals within the zoo that all have to conform to the zookeeper's rules until the new exhibit, the turtle, appears. And the rules are you have to speak your animal sounds to get your food, but the turtle does not speak. And it's how the zookeeper contends with this nonconformist turtle and the issues that come out of that.
Yeah. Where did you come up with the idea for your film and to use 3 animation styles?
Well, it's a long story, but I'll try and make it brief. It was written in 1996 when I was a student at Sheridan College, an animation school in Canada. And basically, it was kind of me talking about what I felt growing up as a Jewish kid in Canada, and how I was introduced to the Holocaust at a really young age, basically. The idea that history can kind of try and eradicate a culture and those that may be left behind that had to tell the story about it. But then it kind of blossomed as I grew, or as I developed the story. It took me about 23 years to finish. So many things happened throughout history, including 9/11 while I was storyboarding the film, the Syrian refugee crisis when I came back to the film after a 12-year hiatus, and then recently the Mexican US border and families being held and separated. So these themes of exile and trying to eradicate culture or separate culture kept reappearing throughout the film. So it means several different things to me now.
Yeah. Yeah, those are definitely topics worth visiting, and I came across. How have you seen your film resonate with anybody you might have screened it for?
It's a good question. I mean, it's played at several festivals around the world now. It's been out for just over a year. I didn't have the fortune of traveling with it, unfortunately. But I have received some feedback, and I received a couple awards, which was wonderful. But recently, actually, was accepted into Berlin, a film festival in Berlin. It's a refugee film festival. So that kind of hit home in that it was originally inspired by the impact that the Holocaust had on me. So the film in some ways kind of returned home there, to Germany. But also the fact that it's a film about exile, and it was picked up by a film themed about refugees, was another kind of eye-opening experience for me, and felt really wild.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds a great venue to screen in. Did you have any challenges putting this together in the last 23 years?
Yeah, that's an understatement. It started as a student project, as I said, and it was too ambitious for me, so I didn't finish it. I went to work in the animation industry and was at Industrial Light and Magic, George Lucas's effects company. And I had the privilege of pitching the film, and it was going to be one of their first short animated projects. And we worked on it for 3 years, redesigned it as a professional project. And then they laid off about 1,500 people, and I was one of them. So then I found myself kind of torn between going back into industry or continuing as an independent animator. And I chose the latter, set up camp back in Canada at my then girlfriend's parents' house in their basement, and worked on the film for about 1.5 years on government grants. And and it was wonderful. It was like this wonderfully creative time in my youth. And then 9/11 happened, which had a severe impact on everything, of course. And then the film went away, and kind of the spirit of the film, the energy went away, and the biggest challenge was getting back to it. And it was always kind of in the back of my mind to finish this film. But in 12 years later, I mean, it's funny enough, I was just thinking about it, listening to the last caller. I was actually in Portland, when I started thinking about working on the film again. And something inspired me. And like, I was going through a divorce, and I needed a creative outlet again. And this film just was always there and needed to get done. So yeah, that was it. And just went amazing since then. It was like 4 summers working with a great crew in Canada at Seneca College. And we finished the film in 4 summers, and it was released last year.
Nice. Well, I'm glad you were able to get your film finished. It's definitely beautiful. What was the most rewarding part for you of getting this together, getting your story out there?
I mean, it was rewarding finishing it for sure. I'm an animation professor, and I get to have the privilege of working with, hundreds of students over the last 20 years, finish their films. And there's always been that part of me that felt kind of, left out, or I didn't finish what I started, you know what I mean? And so that was it. It was like finishing the film was amazing. And I didn't know how people would respond to it and where it would go. And so the fact that it's gotten into festivals, and thank you, Portland Film Festival, for accepting it, it feels great to know that other people are responding to the film in the way I always hoped they would.
Absolutely. Do you have any projects you're working on right now you'd like to talk about?
I'm designing characters for a kids' TV show right now, currently. I have an idea for a children's book that I've been mulling around the back of my mind about the point of view of the troll in Billy Goat's Gruff, what it feels like to be under that bridge. Yeah, I'm an administrator at a university, Cal State Long Beach. So my full time is dedicated towards education right now. But if I don't stay creative, I start to die inside. So I'm keep keeping it rolling.
Yeah, I believe we have a quick clip of your film to share with everybody here.
Great.
I tried to tell them. I yelled it out loud, but the turtle's too slow for that long black cloud. Yes, I used to speak. I screamed out my best, but no one could hear me. No one was left.
Well, it definitely looks amazing. I can't wait for everybody to watch it.
Thank you. Thanks for showing it.
Absolutely. You can find Nothing to Say at pdxss.com. Aubrey, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. I think we have 2 more directors to share this morning. Let's get our next one ready. Hey,
how's it going, Joe?
Pretty good. Did you introduce yourself and your film real quick?
Yeah, my name is Michael Parks Randa, and I'm the co-director of Best Summer Ever. And do you want me to get into what the film's about? Yeah, sure. Best Summer Ever is a 8-song original high school musical that features a fully integrated cast and crew of individuals with and without disabilities. And so, the goal for our film was to create something in the musical space that, sort of celebrates diversity and inclusion. And as a film team, it was actually created through a nonprofit in Vermont called Xena Mountain Farm. And Xena Mountain Farm is a a creative arts community of people with and without disabilities, just friends that get together. And we've been making films for about 10 years, just shorts, very sort of genre type films. And over time, we became a little bit more ambitious, and we decided to make a feature. And so we shot in this fall of 2017. I've been kind of piecing it together ever since, and now finally getting it out into the world.
Yeah, well, amazing. I'm trying to keep my. Could you tell me why a musical? I was very surprised when it just started out. Okay.
Yeah. I think for us, we felt like, well, we had sort of, like I was saying a little bit before, we'd always approached our films from sort of genre perspectives, and so we made a horror film, we made a horror short, we made a superhero, and these were all like super low budget, macro budget films. And I think within our community, there's a wide range of friends with disabilities, and I think but let me backtrack a bit. I feel like within our community, like we've always just loved musicals. And I think that we felt like if we were going to make a representative film, we first wanted to check the box that we were going to love making it. But we also felt like it's important for us that if we're going to make a film that celebrates inclusion, like let's make something that, kids with disabilities all around the world can say, I see myself in a musical. I've never seen anything like that before. When we talk about inclusion in films, generally making a movie, if there is integrated talent and there are people with disabilities or actors with disabilities, it's often their disability defines their role. And we decided, let's flip that on its head. Why can't we have a big high school musical with football players with Down syndrome on the team and make it just this big, celebration? And we felt like if we're going to, make our first attempt at a feature, let's go big or go home in a way. And we learned a lot in that process for sure.
Well, definitely came together. What was your most challenging moment putting this film together?
I think that, I think the sort of the blessing and the curse of making a movie like this, I feel like most, if not all, indie filmmakers making their first feature can definitely appreciate the notion of like, you have to scrap together the resources you have. And we filmed this at this camp in Vermont. And so, for those of us who are used to working in New York or Los Angeles or wherever it may be, where there's a lot of film support, like we basically were all living in wheelchair accessible tree houses and filming it in a community in this small town in Vermont where there's not a lot of wheelchair accessible buildings. And, we're literally filming in a mountain. And so I think that was one of the biggest challenges. But I think over time we sort of learned how to operate in a way that was, we were able to make it work. But that was definitely a challenge.
Yeah. What was for you the most rewarding part of making this movie?
I think kind of seeing a dream come to reality. I think that it had been the idea of making a movie at that scale sort of always felt sort of out of reach for us. I think we were comfortable working in the short space and making those something. In a lot of ways, the movies in the past were a fundraising tool for the organization and just sort of like fun things that we did together as friends. And I think through all of like the trials and tribulations of months and honestly years of making this film, like finally getting it, it was supposed to premiere at South by Southwest. When that was canceled, I feel like there's always been these things that are sort of like, it's such an underdog film. And I think that the most rewarding thing was completing it and starting almost like right now, it's sort of some of the most rewarding things, getting it into festivals, people actually seeing it. When you're making a film in sort of a vacuum for so long, it can be hard to like keep sight of like, is it working? Is this film going to resonate? And I think that we've definitely been feeling like the love that this film is important and that films like ours deserve to be made. And this, these cast and crews that are inclusive in that way, like they deserve to, be people with disabilities deserve to be part of the conversation, which is really important for us and especially for those, living with disabilities.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd definitely say that. Sorry about that.
No, it's not good.
Yeah, I gotta ask real quickly. This has been sticking with me since I watched this. Why make the star athlete the kicker? I mean, I've never seen that before.
Yeah, that's such a great question. I think the original script we'd written, he was a quarterback, and the actor Ricky Wilson's actually was a high school quarterback, and so we were like, he's a gifted actor, and we were like, that makes so much sense. Like, we know that he's going to be able to perform in that way, and then we felt like it was just a little cliche. And we felt like, let's give the kicker on the team, who usually is like kind of like the punchline in a lot of football circles. Let's give them the limelight for once. And,
works, yeah.
Yeah, I know. And that was definitely a challenge for Ricky, who had never kicked a football in his life, and came in to the script initially being like, all right, I can throw a football, 40 yards, no problem. And then it suddenly was like, he's like, I am not a kicker at all. So it definitely took some creative editing at times, but he was into it, and he definitely improved over time. But
yeah, also this is definitely a fun one. Yeah, it definitely touches on the classic High School Musical film,
right?
While being actually inclusive. So yes, it's you guys did a great job throwing this together.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
You said you've taken it to a few festivals by now. How have you seen it resonate with people?
We actually just had this past weekend. We were at the Martha's Vineyard Film Festival. So many festivals. I'm sure you guys have been really, trying to figure out how do we adapt as film festival culture, and what's the safest way for people to be able to see films right now, and that's such a struggle. I know how much we all as film fans miss being in a theater together. So we were at the Vineyard last weekend, which was a drive-in, and just being able, people honking as one of the big musical numbers ends, and there was I think if you had asked me a year ago, would that be a fulfilling way to see the film for the first time, I might have had a different answer. But it was actually fantastic to be able to feel the energy, not the same way in a room, but we've been dying to just have some audience interaction and to see how it resonates. And so this is, I think, Portland's the third festival where people have been able to actually watch it. So so far, I think people understand. I think the greatest takeaway that we've gotten is that, in this film, it's a romance between an able-bodied character and a disabled character. And I think some people there's a first kiss in the first musical number. And some people have been like, that was actually kind of I didn't know how to react, or it felt almost a little bit put off, or just didn't know how to. I've never seen anything like that. And so I didn't really know how to, I didn't know that was unnatural for me. And I think by the end of the film, people were like, it just changed my perspective on the way that I see disabled, disabled inner disability romances. And it's something we don't see in cinema too much. And so I think when people walk away from the film being like, it helped me to check my, my own perceived notions. Yeah. And ignorances even as well. We all, are I think what's a great thing about films is that they can challenge ourselves to, think differently and to see the world in a different way. And I think that's the most important thing about making films is to challenge those notions and to definitely support people who, deserve to have their stories told in a way that is engaging and, helps people think.
Yeah. I think we have a clip of your film we can share here. So let's play that.
Great.
Tonight I'm dancing free, gonna let the whole world come and dance with me. I got no reason to hold it all inside. The sun is going down on the west side swing, warming up a place that I've never been. Take it or leave it, I'm making up my mind. Tonight we're dancing free. Let the whole world come around and see. I've got no reason to hold it all inside. Sun is going down on the west side swing, warming up a place that I've never been. Look around and see who's on your side. I'm ready to ride. I'm ready to ride.
So that was a fun one. That was a good overnight shoot in this little town in Vermont. We got to shut down the only light in that whole town. That filming it there, the town was really supportive, and it was sort of our dream to have this big breakout, almost like flash mob scene in downtown Vermont. So yeah, it was really fun.
It definitely seems like a fun shoot.
Yeah, it was.
How was it getting original pieces for the song or for this?
Yeah, I mean, what's incredible about this film is that it really was, pieced together internally, and so one of the main antagonist, her name is Madeline Rhodes. She goes by Moo. She's a singer-songwriter, and she's the cheerleader in the film. She wrote most of the songs along with Pete Halby, who's one of our executive producers, and so and Jamie Lawrence is a musical producer based out of New York, and so this was really like this film was created in the team, and so it wasn't like let's go find outside composers and songwriters. It was like let's source internally, and we definitely found some great acting talent outside of the Zeno Mountain Farm community. But as far as the songwriting, yeah, all 8 original songs created by really core members of this film team that have been some of which have been part of the community themselves for 30 years or more. And so I think that those songs a musical is only as strong as its musical numbers. And so we're really proud of what that team created. And it definitely gave Lauren and I as the directors like a really rich palette to work with, to create something of visual companion pieces to it for the songs. And it was quite an experience. Yeah,
it's definitely a lot of fun numbers in there. Definitely, tapping your toes.
yeah. The songs they're definitely like they worm in for sure. I get them, stuck in my head even when I haven't watched the film for a little while. They're really fun numbers.
Do you have any projects coming up you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely starting to think about how to keep this train going, and I feel like these type of films, we've had some setbacks just like everybody has in the past year, but we're feeling like it might be time to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps and maybe start writing the next one, or personally, I direct a lot of music videos, so I keep busy in that way and commercial and stuff. But I think the most important thing is to keep making films that are integrated, and hope that the more that we do, the more that people challenge the idea that people with disabilities are only challenge the idea that films like ours are experimental. They shouldn't be. I think that a film like ours, it's okay we can own it as experimental if no one else is making them. But hopefully, when you make experimental films, you hope that it starts to create it can create a new normal, and people can, like we all are inspired by one another's films, take little pieces of it and bring it into our own aesthetic. Our hope is that not that we're the only ones making integrated films by a long shot, but hopefully, the more that we continue to make them, the more that the industry pays attention, that there's a large segment of really talented crew members and actors with various disabilities who really, they're just missing out by kind of ignoring this population and holding the bar so low. It really, if our film is any indication, there's a lot of talent out there. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, Michael, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Joe.
You can find, Best Summer Ever is a pod exclusive film. You have the rest of the weekend to come down and watch it.
Cool. Oh, that's so great. We wish we could be there, but we're so appreciative of you and the festival, believing in our film and having it part of your programming. So thank you again. And hopefully we'll see you again sometime soon.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. We have one last director for you today. So we'll bring him on in. Hey, how's it going, man?
How's it going, Joe?
You want to introduce yourself and your film real fast?
Sure. My name is Dwayne Logan, and the film that I made that's in the festival is titled Black Thoughts. Should I just jump right into what it's about? Sorry, we've got a dog in the background. Man, Black Thoughts is it came about after working with Joel and Jesse Edwards over at a local production company here in Nashville, Tennessee called Evolve on 2 previous scripts that I wrote and sent in to them that tried to address a couple of things that are happening in the world right now. And COVID-19 hit, and we were supposed to shoot one of those scripts earlier this year. And it's funny because in looking at the previous clips to that director's film, one of the concepts of the film that got canceled because of COVID was to have a massive group of people featured, and we just couldn't figure out a way to get around it in a financially feasible way. And I had already, by the start of this year, been kind of bursting at the seams, feeling as though I had to say a couple of things about what was going on. And in a conversation with Joel and Jesse, they were gracious enough to say, hey, it's okay if you want to say something different. And so I took about a week to bury myself in a hole and contemplate on what was happening in the world. George Floyd had just died, and then there was Ahmaud Arbery. And for anyone that's really kind of keeping a finger on the pulse of what's happening, there's so many more stories similar to that just around the country that don't make the headlines. And I had the privilege of being able to just write a piece that I felt like we could achieve during COVID restrictions, but would also try to express the things that were going on in my heart. And I wanted to do it in a way, and I think people are being preached at a lot. They're being talked at a lot. There's also this very interesting thing that's happening where I think there's a large amount of people that realize that we need to increase our education on some of the issues. And so then it's turned into this, oh wow, sorry about that. It's turned into this, now sit down and take this history lesson sort of a thing. And I don't know, I think I really wanted to approach things from a different standpoint, especially because some of the topics that create the issues that we're facing are such sensitive topics, and they can feel very directed at people specifically. People can very easily throw up a wall of defense, and then there's nothing left to be said. So what I hoped to do is to rehumanize the Black experience, the Black man, the Black woman, the Black child, the Black human in America and in America's eyes. And that would essentially serve as kind of a step one on a list of hopes, which would be to, if we could, just from our day-to-day encounters, make those encounters with each other a little bit more progressive and a little bit more helpful. If the next time that Dwayne or Joe has a conversation with a coworker, or the next time that we walk into a coffee shop, or the next time that we're at a car dealership or applying for a home loan, if maybe just at the surface level, we could be seen as humans, that's a nice step. But I also didn't want to fall into the hole of allowing myself or anyone else to believe that it would end there, because sadly it just doesn't. And the problem is so much bigger. And I think the word context just continued to come to the surface of what the goal was. It was to add context to why some things are happening and why we're in some of the situations that we're in. And so if we could just be seen a bit more on the scale and level as humans, but then from there to then begin to give context to what's happening in America as a whole and why some of the institutions work the way that they work and how some of the situations came to be, why do ghettos exist. So if we could just begin to see, hey, that young man that was killed in that crazy encounter, he was a human, then be able to go from there and say, what was his life like? What was the context of his life? What put him in that situation? What does his family life look like? And it's odd, and I referred to a mountain in the piece because it really does begin to feel like that in order to add that context, you have to just kind of tackle this mountainous burden of trying to unbury history and trying to offer history to people and offer facts that a lot of people really don't want to hear. They're very uncomfortable conversations, but they're very necessary in order to really address very much in a real way. And I think the piece kind of goes back and forth between trying to help the issues of ignorance while also pointing to the fact that there are issues of institution that we have to deal with. In the institutional issues aren't from ignorance, they're very intentional. And to really be able to grasp that, sadly, it takes a massive amount of information about the who's and the where's and the why's and the how's. And in 30 minutes, we tried to cram in as much of that as I possibly could. Because I don't know, I think it's just a tragedy to look at any man or any woman and the woes of their life and to immediately diagnose what you see based on their current day actions without looking at what built that man or that woman. And we certainly don't have an answer to bullying in school or to school shootings, but we've looked at part of the why, or maybe part of the why is bullying. And so then we say, okay, well, let's do better about bullying. And now we've got anti-bullying things. And there, no one stops and says, well, no one gets latched on to, but let's just talk about the shooter. Let's just focus on the shooter, just the shooter, just the shooter. We all seem relatively open to saying, hey, there's a reason why the shooter exists. Yeah. Let's look at why the shooter exists. And sadly, in the Black experience in America, I think a part of that doesn't really exist. The asking of how did this come to be? So really wanted to make something that pointed toward that as well. And it was a massive undertaking of just kind of pouring all of these thoughts out and hoping that somehow they would come across in a way to where people don't feel talked at or threatened, but could almost feel as though they were able to just kind of step inside of the rib cage and get next to the heart of a real person that could be their neighbor, could be their friend, could be their coworker. And so far it seems like it's resonating. It seems like it's achieving that. And it's all quite unreal for me still that it's even in existence, that we were actually able to get it out of here and into a digital format and into the world, and that now I'm here and I'm chatting with Joe Stevens and it's at the Portland Film Festival, and it's a real thing that's actually getting to people.
Yeah. I think we have a clip so that we can show people what you're talking about here real fast. Let's get that running.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dwayne Logan. I am the writer, director, and OCP of the short film Black Thoughts. I'm so excited to share the film with each of you. The idea behind the film is that A stranger is a very easy man to hate. But if you had the opportunity to somehow step inside a stranger's shoes, inside his skin, inside his heart, inside his mind, we might find that we have a lot more in common than we thought. And maybe we would realize that it's in the darkness of ignorance where hatred lives and breathes. But it's in the light of understanding of each other where legacies of hatred crumble. The idea behind the film is to enhance our desire for education concerning one another, and for that education somehow be restored empathy, and that empathy is equality. If you like to take part in some of those conversations, you can find me at DwayneLogan.com. That's DWAYNELOGAN.com. Please watch the film with an open heart, and I hope to talk to you soon.
Now, also, you talked on a lot of things in your film. A lot of this, again, that basic level of ignorance, that meeting a new neighbor and then othering you very quickly because of how you look, and the more institutional things, like you have some cops are just doing their thing, but you have other cops who are actively trying to tear you down. And I want to get into that a little bit here before we show our next clip. Just where this all just needed to be addressed, how, why, and how you came to put this together.
Sure. I think I battled for a very long time with what my responsibility was in this world, and I think a bit unashamed about being a man of faith. I believe that there's a reason for me to live a life that enhances the lives of the people I meet and the people around me, as a Christian duty to this world. That life here is almost like college, that there's a mission to be achieved, and then you get to go on and enjoy it afterward. And for a very long time, I kind of felt like I would be able to address that mission in life strictly by hoping to speak to the spiritual state of man. But then I just wrestled, and you just can't ignore things. There's a scripture that says, "Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the right of all who are destitute. Speak up and judge fairly, defend the rights of the poor, defend the needy." It's like, man, that's sounding like a much more practical application to what I'm seeing around me. And my father was a man that every time we saw him, all he spoke about was Black power and Black empowerment. And he considered himself to be a pharaoh and was really getting into a lot of the Egyptology, and at one point talked about being able to walk without walking, and he would be able to float because of the power of his mind and tapping into this spiritual realm of his ancestors in Egypt. And I mean, we would look at things like that and just, he's crazy. He is not all there. That man he's gone. And in a way, it really, it kind of made looking at the rights of Black people almost, we certainly looked at it in a very negative light. It's like he's just obsessed with things that can't be changed. And as children, I can see why we thought that way as well, because I mean, there's just nothing about it that looked exciting. His apartment was floor to ceiling books, and it just permeated every thought, every action. And as I got older, I think what I spoke of just previously, coming to this realization that I can't really help people without helping people. And at one point, I realized that doing like missions work and going out, I had the privilege of being able to head over to Bolivia for a missions trip. And here we are building a home. Like we're not there like throwing a Bible at people's heads. We were building a house. We were doing something very practical, because in that, we were serving and achieving the purpose that was needed to enhance those people's lives. And I think within the last few years, I came to that conclusion about what's happening here in America. I took it on as, okay, like this is, it's just not something that I can hide from anymore. And as a kid, I was always a person that would ask why. I think my mother, I just drove her nuts as one of those kids that, why does this happen? Why does this happen? Why does this happen? And then becoming an adult and starting to ask why, I think that's where I started to see those levels of what we need to address. And that first level of asking why led me to, okay, hey, why would someone think that racism no longer exists in this country? Why would they think that? How could they come to that conclusion when it seems to be all around us? And you start to dig and you peel back and you peel back and you peel back and you realize that it was a very intentional thing that was created in order to justify slavery, that you had to dehumanize an entire ethnicity of people in order to be able to say, hey, they're just property. Think of them as a cattle. Think of them as a plow. And then you, in trying to, after grasping that why, you try to offer that to people in a way that they can process. It's like, okay, so here's how we can better handle some of our day-to-day interactions where you think that racism doesn't exist. Can we maybe go back and just look at this a little bit? And if you see that, it's not a you versus me anymore. It's not a black versus white anymore. It's just a conversation about truth. Like this, I didn't do it. I didn't make this up. I didn't put this in a package and say, hey, I'm going to hit you upside the head with it. It's just truth. It's just take a peek at it. And then you dig some more and you ask more of the why. Why is it that people think that cops are potentially crooked? Why would a group of people protest in the streets and almost be angered to the point where they feel like setting something on fire is a solution? Why? And you dig into that and you dig into that and you dig some more and you dig some more and you sadly, you come to these conclusions that as a black person in America, although you may not agree with some of the things, you can see the rationale behind them. And then you're confronted with the massive task of how can I convey this to someone else that's on the opposite end of it, and who actually in some strange way feels as though they're actually being hurt by it. Like, that's my property. That was my building. That was my house. And how can I give them the whys and the hows in a way that are palatable? And I hate to say this, and it's very embarrassing to say, but I look at my life. I grew up on the inner city of Chicago, on the south side of Chicago, the place they're now calling Chirac. But I fell in love with academics as a kid, and so I fell in love with being able to articulate my thoughts. I fell in love with being able to communicate. And so in a strange way, I've kind of been exposed to these two very contrasting worlds, where I've been in the ghetto, I was raised in a ghetto. You see the inner workings of a ghetto. And then you go to being thrown into the world of coaching gymnastics, where you see how the affluent of America live. And you see these two worlds, and in a strange way, this was the part that I was saying I'm almost embarrassed to admit. The way that I look, the way that I speak, the way that I carry myself is palatable to America. And it shouldn't be that way. But if my skin complexion was a little bit darker, I don't know that I would be heard the same way. If my dialogue was a little bit different, I don't know that I would be heard the same way. And so I felt the responsibility from that perspective as well, to say, hey, like, in a very sad way, there's some people that would see this piece and say, oh, even Dwayne. And it kind of harkens back to but you're so clean, but you're so well spoken, even you. And in utilizing in a kind of a backdoor sort of a way, taking the stereotype and using it to an advantage of being able to say, yes, even me. And then to just put it out there. And I mean, I certainly don't love the idea of people watching me urinate myself on a TV screen, but it felt very necessary to just say, like, even me. even those that have passed like some of the layers of acceptance in society as Black people, that maybe if we point to this in the right way, we might all start to see that those layers and levels of acceptance still aren't broad enough, and that racism, it has still permeated the lives of everyone and everything in this country, even the most educated, even the most successful, even those that have so-called, quote unquote, done what they need to do with their bootstraps. Like, it's still there and it's everywhere. And maybe if we can talk about it from, again, a non-confrontational standpoint and just allow history to be history and facts to be facts, maybe we might actually be able to do something about it. And I think the review that was written that called some of the dialogue Afro-pessimistic, I can see that. I can see that conclusion, because I think in a very realistic way, I think anyone that is especially seeing like The Social Dilemma on Netflix can come to the conclusion that it's only increasingly becoming harder to really address the issue, because truth no longer seems to be a cure for much. Sadly, it just doesn't. And even if we can look at history and we can look at facts and we can look at the hows and the whys of how we got here, in a lot of ways, I don't know how much it's going to change. But then we're kind of left with these options. We can remain hopeful, do as much as we can, make as much of a dent in the issue as we can. We can give in to despair, which doesn't sound like a great option, or we can lean into the ideas of warfare. And I don't know that the latter two options really do much for us.
Yeah. I believe we have another clip of yours ready to go. So we'll play that and we'll get into our next couple questions.
Black thoughts flood my mind.
You shouldn't care what people think.
Shouldn't care what people think.
Not caring. What a luxury.
I just can't read your handwriting.
Black people don't take good care of their property.
Everything all right, miss? Just want to make sure you're not in any danger.
I wish that the weight of what needs lifting wasn't so heavy. I wish that truth was mandatory. I wish that there was a way for us all to exchange eyes for a moment. Drowning in a sea of black thoughts.
Your film, yeah, you talked briefly about how this is affecting you as a youth when you were a girl coming up, and how you're looking at your daughter in this. I guess what I'm getting to is how we're trying to help the youth, like so they don't have to go through the same problems we're facing today.
I love that question, and I think it kind of points me back to those three options, like hope, despair, or war. And I suppose if at the end of the day, all we get out of all of these efforts, out of all of the marches, out of all of the protests, out of all of the push for changes in legislation, there's some people that would simply consider some of that progress as concession. Because, okay, we'll give you body cameras. We'll let you sit at that lunch counter. We'll let you drink from that water fountain. You can ride on this bus. We'll make it a little easier for you to get a home loan. We'll give you some concessions. And from a realistic standpoint, looking at all of those things, I think from the aspect of hope, we'll take them. We'll take that. And thinking of my daughter, I think knowing that may be the reality of staring at this country and staring at the world and saying that maybe the corruption is so much deeper than we can get a shovel to touch. it's still worthwhile giving her the history of the hows and the whys. I think it's still worthwhile for as many of us as can stomach the history of the hows and the whys, our children, our nieces, our nephews, our friends, our family, to get as much of that into certainly into my daughters as I possibly can, because I think it will help them navigate this world in a different way and through a different lens. I think there's a power there as well that will allow my daughters to separate themselves from some of the sting of racism and from some of the burn of the hatred, when all of a sudden they can potentially meet that hatred and meet some of those obstacles with, in a strange way, eyes of compassion, and look and say, and look and see it as a sickness and as a societal disease, instead of as something that's directed toward them in as personal of a way. So I think that's certainly worth doing, and certainly worthwhile to try to get that into them. And my wife just initially thought about our daughter being in the piece, and it certainly just ripped her to pieces. It's like, oh, my daughter with those images behind her. Like, how can we? Every time she sees it, and every time I see it, it's jarring, and it's certainly a sad thing to see. But knowing that it's the reality, it's just reality, and not wanting to hide from reality. And we've always talked about our goal for parenting, that maybe someday, like, we could take our children to we'll take our children to soup kitchens and have conversations with people that are homeless, and talk about their hows and their whys, and allow them to learn from that. I want to expose my children as much to the realities of the world as I possibly can, in as wise a way as I can. Because I think just that knowledge and that wisdom and that information is a very needed power in order to not just break down from the utter despair of hopelessness.
Yeah. All right, well, it's been great talking to you this morning. We are just about out of time. Do you have any projects you have up and coming that you'd like to talk about?
Man, there's quite a few things in the works, and I really enjoyed. There's a panel here about pitches, and this super helpful. Just finding out that there are people in the world that are interested in funding films, and there are the scripts that I spoke of that I presented to the guys over at Evolve early on, and I think now there's a window to possibly make some of those with COVID testing. And if we just test everyone, maybe we could shoot some of that stuff. But I think Black Thoughts also is in discussions of becoming either a feature length piece. There are chats about it becoming a stage play, which kind of caught me off guard. It's like, I don't know about that. It was like peeling open a scab in front of a camera the first time. I don't know if I could do that in front of people, but it makes sense that if the idea is to allow people to kind of all get into this space with me, that it would be really cool to do that fit in a physical way. Like, hey, let's all get into this room and relive it. That's one of the options. And then I think long term, it's certainly something that points to about a string of 3 or 4 films that I'd like to make down the road, and all of which I think just kind of address the world and society from a very similar lens of let's take a look at reality, but take a look at reality without the aggressive finger point as much.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. Good talking to you, Dwayne. Look forward to any future projects. If this maybe becomes a feature, absolutely. Thank you so much for stopping by this morning.
And thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. And congratulations once again to all of our directors, and thank you so much for your hard work. Thank you all for joining us this morning. Don't forget, you can go to pdxff.com to watch all of these films you heard about today. Let's see, you can join our filmmakers in the virtual lobby at pdxsf.com if you want to chat with them or to hear more about their films. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you again soon.